computer. Hello,
Right.
everybody.
Yeah,
How are you all doing?
I'm gonna mute since I sound like death.
No worries. So let us make a start. Or should we wait? Let's wait like a couple of minutes. How have you all been doing? Hi,
Hey, Diana, we so appreciate you doing these.
no worries. How are you guys doing with these holidays and the last year push, the end of year push?
It's been crazy.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
And I don't know about there how things are, but here in the UK, nothing moves on the last week of the year. And so I have half of my projects kind of hanging in the air, even though in Ukraine everything is normal. So it's kind of like coping with that.
Yeah, everything's not completely shut down, but most people are away this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I do appreciate the quietness, I must say. Like I'm very grateful that after this last push, sort of things kind of go for a couple of days just quiet. And then like I know it's normal and we're still working and doing stuff, but it's kind of quieter, I would say. So I do appreciate that. Plan to have 2 days off this week. So I'm gonna,
That's
tomorrow,
awesome.
yeah. So tomorrow and the 30th, I'm just gonna take off. Well, actually tomorrow is the 30th. So tonight and the 30th and the 31st is just my family and me. And then after that, going back to normal schedule. All right. So can everybody see my screen? Yes, I'm sharing my screen. Can you all see it or not? Yes.
Yes.
Cool. So I haven't shared sorry. I haven't shared the PowerPoint again because it's not mine, so I don't own the rights to it, but I just thought I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. I highly recommend you guys, if you want to learn more about these, to go to philanthropia.org. They have a bunch of courses that are very accessible and that are very useful, which is part of the reason why I use their contents actually. This is a workshop they gave about the fundraising grants, actually, grant cycle. And then this is how that, like, the reason we do grants application workshop is because it is part of the fundraising strategy, is part of the funding cycle, which I remember I showed a picture of last time. I'm gonna try and find that one out. Which is basically how we procure funds with, say, corporate and with, especially with charities and funds. So what we have most of the time is, you know, you have to kind of cycle through this, you constantly cycle through this cycle. It starts with here it's shown very simply, like find donors, engage, apply, but there are several steps in between and several things that you have to consider if you want to make sure that you are on the best position to get that grant. So one of the things that I was showing you last time is how it looks like from the other side. And from the other side, it looks like you have to, there's a lot more alignment that has to be considered in order to, you know, make the most of the application for your organization, and as well as for the grantor. Hold on, let me find it. It was on the fundraising strategy, I think. So it's not. Sorry, guys. I thought I had it here. Grant project proposal there. That's the one. So this is sort of how that looks like. Hold on. gonna move it here. So, right, so how it looks like is like this. So you start on your site as grantee, you start with an idea. You start with, oh, I want to fund these solar panels, or I want to fund this school with books. Then you do your research funding. So you go out there and you look, even if unconsciously, you normally do this naturally. So you go and look for who might be the person, who might be the organization that is doing something similar, that understands what you're trying to achieve and has the means or the interest in making it happen. And then you develop the proposal, which starts with the project proposal. Yeah. And so you develop the project proposal. And then once you have the project proposal, you move on to develop a grant proposal. And you go and submit your application. And then you get your grant awarded, and then you start to negotiate with the donor what they need, how are they going to, what kind of requirements do they have on accountability and on updates and keeping them up to date with everything. And then you manage the award. So you get it and you use it, and then you allocate everything and you make sure that everything is aligned, and then you launch the project. And when you launch the project, by then you already sort of have already negotiated who's going to do what, how is that going to work, what are the timelines that are realistic, and how is that going to be logistically achievable. And then after you've launched the project, you report. And it will depend on the grantor, how do they want the reporting. For example, some grants will come with no strings attached, and they will say, do whatever you want with this money, it's yours because we understand the situation. Or it could be that they say, we understand the situation, but we want to see the result. And so they want just an end of project result sort of summary, the closeout project that you see there. Or it could be that they say, well, actually, we would like to know what is happening every week, or we would like to know what is happening every quarter, every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks. As grantor, this is how that looks like from the back. So as grantor, you want to make sure that you are, your mission is aligned with everything, that, you have the funding details, like how people can donate to you to make this fund happen. Then you build the application where you set out, what the requirements are from your donors. Then you put the call out, then you review the applications, then you select the best grants, then you award the grantees, and then you support the grantees to make sure that they understand what you need, what your donors need, and that you make sure that they are, that everything is going according to plan, that they have the resources that they need, and that they are fulfilling the offer that they did. Then you collect and report data back to your donors, and then you move on to ask them for feedback. And you also review internal practices to make sure that, that this is helpful, is useful, and that next time you make it better. Are there any questions so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so here, these guys have simplified it with this. So basically you find donors, you engage, and you apply. It's a little bit more complex than that, but it's a very valid, useful, template for what we want to do. So the first step is understanding, where your organization is. What is your intention with the fundraising? What is the project look like? How are your communications? Are they all aligned with this? Do the board members, align with your goal? Do they have donors? You start to sort of like tax with the what we talked about, the PESTLE and the SWOT. You sort of, do an internal analysis, and then you move to the fundraising strategy. So you start by saying, what are the gaps that we have? Where do we want to go? And how will we get there? And then you try to target, for example, possible gaps that you may have throughout the year, because your fundraising strategy should be about a year, more or less long. Or if you work on 6 months or 4 months, make sure that during this time you are seeing what you might need. If it's, for example, next year, then I know some projects have funding for 2 months and then nothing, and then you might want to plan for those after those 2 months. How are we going to make sure that we can continue with our activities? And so after that, you again, like I said, the fundraising strategy is super important. So you review your fundraising strategy. You make sure that your whatever it is that you're going to fundraise for, that you're not duplicating, that you're not raising funds on other platforms for it, and instead focus on what's the next thing, what's the best thing that you can do now. When you have your fundraising strategy, you move on to find donors. So you can actually map your donors, and there's formats for these. Let me see, I have a few, but I think I actually shared one in the second session, but I will try and find it out again. You basically have a format where you can look at who are our potential donors for these and that. Sorry, hold on a minute. Sorry, I don't have it at hand. I thought I'd show it, but either way, I can send it after the presentation. So here you find the donors, you map who your potential donors are, what their number is, what their contact person is, the person that you're in contact with, for example, or if someone else, then who that person is that you should be in contact with. One very important thing to know is that all of the contacts of you and partners are online, available for free. So you could actually, in theory, just send them cold emails. I don't know how successful this is, but if it's something for you to consider, maybe it is something for you to consider. If you have already found which donors, here. So the donor database, which is what I'm going to send after this. The donor database should consider all avenues for you to get your donors. It could be online, it could be Facebook, it could be your emails, it could be your WhatsApp, and it could also be, like I mentioned, UN people. So here, sorry, I have this thing. I'm going to send it afterwards. So basically what you do is you map your donors. You can do that easily on an Excel sheet. This will be about what their name is, their website, their focus area. The range is how much you can ask them for. The rank is how active they are, how much contact you have, how much are they awarding at the moment. Then the application, so if you need to be registered and etc. So it's all like whatever their process is, and then the notes, and then the to-do, so that more or less the steps that you have to follow. Each grant is unique. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as one process for a grant. Each grant is unique, and each grantor requires different things depending on their donors. Some grants will be, it's fine. You just have to show us what you do, what you want, and we'll award it because we know your work and we believe in you. And some others will be absolutely dreadful to go through, and you'll need to have a big package of dozens of pages and documents to justify it. When it comes to humanitarian work, my recommendation is always go for the path of least resistance. However, if you're working within the UN system, that's not possible. You definitely have to be aware that there are courses out there that teach you specifically how to apply for grants in UN, because it's such a complicated, convoluted process. But you can always go a sub partner, you can always go a secondary partner, and I'm going to show you in a minute how to do that. After this, you engage with them. So you tell them, hey, this is us, this is what we're up to, or hi, how are you? You know, I wanted to share with you our latest project, or this and that, or hey, maybe we can, you know, have a virtual coffee, you know, follow up after months, and then drop in that, you know, you guys are working with this other amazing project, get them right up about it. And then they will ask you, oh, maybe we should, you know, we have some funding available, maybe you should shout us a message, and, you know, we'll see how we make it happen. To engage them, you can, like I said, find them in social media, or you can like request a meeting, can ask questions, you can figure out what they're doing, what their priorities are. That you can do that through their websites. You can do that through seeing what are the kind of stuff that they are doing, delivering in for example, in Ukraine. Yeah, Ala, unfortunately, grants is always a hit and miss, I would say. There's no magical, you know, like formula for these. All we can do is try to, you know, increase our chances. Now, talking about the UN, yeah, it's complicated, and I'm going to show you guys how to sort of like the first steps to do this. If anyone has any further questions, you can approach me. I myself don't apply to UN grants. I am the person that shows you the way to do that, but I have other people that have actually successfully done it. And usually what I do is I pass these organizations on to them, and I tell them, look, this person is trying to apply and you've applied successfully, or someone like Isabella, who is actually, their organization is actually focused on helping organizations, local organizations, access UN funds. So they are more suitable for, you know, the proper application process. And I will just, you know, pass them on. But for the first steps, I can show you how to reach out to that. Then you usually will have donors that you already are talking to. And I mean, usually it's the people that has already been funding, the organizations you have already been working with. I had someone, for example, working with Rotary, and they already knew someone from Rotary, and they just needed some funding for something. So they asked this person like, hey, I know that you're not like the Rotary leader, but could I just, you know, ask, like I need this money, and I was wondering if Rotary may be able to support me. And they actually have supported him. Like, he ended up pitching to them and then getting a grant for it. So really, you don't know how your contacts can help you, so long as you know what you're trying to achieve and you can pitch that idea in a way that is like congruent and that makes sense, and that you're pitching it to the people that can support, or that has an interest in these. They might know someone, and so that could actually lead to a more successful application. It talks here about inviting donors for field visits and events. Now, we are very small, all of us. I think this works for a medium charity or a big charity that can afford to do that. However, one thing that has worked for me instead has been asking people to come as volunteers for us. And then once they are volunteering, they will get a first, you know, it's only for people that has the time. They will get the taste of what we're doing. And then once they disengage, I ask them, hey, who do you know that can help fund this? Could you help us fundraise for this? And so these supporters, these supporting relationships, I think, are more important for us than for a normal charity. I think that as grassroots, that's precisely all our power comes from those, you know, those networks of supporters that we have. And they're amazing. I mean, they have literally put presidents into presidency. So really just make sure that all of your beneficiary base, all of your supporter base is aware of what you're trying to do, and just ask them directly, hey, who do you know that can help us with this? Then what you do is you find them and you engage with them, and then you look for the eligibility. So are you an eligible partner for them? Usually if you're not eligible, you cannot apply, but In the UN context in Ukraine, for example, we've been told a couple of times that even if you don't fulfill all the requirements, you should apply, because there are some margins, I would say, for how flexible the system is, but also it's about understanding one key requirement, standard requirement for any UN thing is, have you survived 2 years? Do you have 2 years of accountancy that you can provide us with? Because most programs will not pass the year, and about 90% of all charities created, and businesses for that matter, end up closing before the second year. So if you exist after the second year, it talks about a certain resiliency, a certain factor of success within your charity that will actually mean that their support to you is more sustainable in the long run, that you're not just gonna close your charity tomorrow, because the time in which these charities usually close down is kind of past. So they accept that you are kind of a permanent fixture, and then they rather involve with you after 2 years. So, but this requirement a couple of times has been told to us, no, look, it doesn't matter if it says that, just apply. And I think this has been the case for USA, for example. USA has waived this requirement for a couple of organizations. And we were told the same about World Food Program, but really, I've seen as well organizations get funding from World Food Program who didn't exist before the war. So it is important to understand that even if you don't, if you're not eligible in the Ukrainian context, it's possible to apply. The page where you apply will usually tell you what you need to do. And we're gonna go after the presentation, I'm gonna show you how to do that for several, maybe one or two, possible partnerships. And so that you can see how the process is very unique for each grant. Like all we can talk about is best practice. That's all we can talk about now, because you will have to find your way anyways. Then, oh yeah, so the guidelines. So the guidelines is the document for applying. They will tell you what you need to provide. And if not, then the person that you're in contact with will tell you exactly what they need from you, so that you don't waste your time and their time. Then you apply. And then you just, for the application, two things. You might have to provide a proposal. So a grant proposal is a document that is not necessarily, you have the grant proposal, but you might, like the grant proposal is going to be your project proposal, but backwards. So it's going to be really focused on them and what they need and what they want. However, you might have to create a letter of intent, which is different. It's a different thing. A letter of intent is a document that is designed to generate interest on your organization for a grant provider. So it will be basically what your primary activities are, the projects that you're going on. This is called letter of intent, is LOE. Sometimes it's called also letter of interest, or sometimes it's also called letter of inquiry. And so basically what you're saying to them is, hey, this is who we are, this is what we do, and we would like to apply to your grant. Yes, we exist, we might apply. Is there anything extra that you need from us? And then they will actually tell you where to find the grant application, or they will tell you, no, it's fine, just send us what you have. Or it might be that they say, thank you so much, we're not open for grants at the moment. But it can also be that in the end, they actually tell you, oh my God, this is great, and we're going to help you through it. And what they do is, the moment they receive a letter of interest or a letter of intent, they will give the heads up to their fundraiser, to the allocating department that allocates the grants, and they will make sure that they have enough capacity to work with you, or that you're there and they need to help and support you. A letter of inquiry, like I said, usually just brief, is like 1 page. It's an informative letter which summarizes your full proposal, and also, well, it can be a little bit longer, not 1 page, it can be 1 to 3 pages. And you can have it has to be official, it looks official, and it talks about very, seriously. I think in our context is the closest thing to a letter of request, I would say. Yeah, so it has a small executive summary of what you want to achieve, and then I don't know, it has a history of your not-for-profits. It should have a few of your objectives, and like the amount of funding. If you're requesting funding from other sources, you should also add who are the other partners that are funding these, and then your goal. And if you have seen the requirements for the grant, it could be that in there they also tell you what the requirements are for the letter of intent. This is, like I said, not everybody has a request for this, but if they do, they will say there, and they could tell you exactly what you need to write in this. Right, so for a normal proposal, it's the same like a project proposal, except all the language is tailored towards your donor. So who is the person you're talking to? And this should be someone in your donor personas. So in your donor personas, you will have one donor persona that is someone in another charity that is allocating funds for other charities and projects. You should tailor that for this team or this person. Make sure that you have the summary, the project rationale, the project background, the project goals and objectives, the strategies and activities, and the result, which is basically everything we did in the last session. And then just, make sure that the language is managed in a way that is talking to them, and that the information is tailored for them. Because if you have, for example, I don't know, written there about who in your team is going to do it, and you can say team is going to do it, they don't care about that. They might actually care more about other stuff. So depending on what they require, you might have to provide like the organizational diagram, like the organigram. I don't know how you call it in English properly, but it's like how does the organization looks like for this project, like who's the manager and who are implementing what. But it can also be that they don't need that, because it's very simple, and they just small organization, they don't care who is managing what. Are there any questions so far?
No, ma'am. Thank you. This is amazing.
I will okay, so some of you guys didn't attend last session. Is this clear though? What the parts are?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we were talking with Lindsay about organizing an extra session next week to discuss a project proposal. And this was just to make sure that all of you have this knowledge, which might help you, for example, to the application that we are doing, like for the small grant that we are allocating for a proper grant professional person package. So that might help.
Excellent.
Right, so for these, again, for those who have questions about project proposals, it looks like this. It's nothing out of this world, and we're going to do it next week again. Then, extra from that, from what we had and we talked about, there's as well sustainability plan here added, which I think is important. Right, so you have the project beneficiaries. Always you have to mention it, like in the project proposal format that we manage. I explained that. The budget, the timeline, all it's in there. The monitoring and evaluation as well, which is, how are we going to report this and what we're doing and how we're going to evaluate it as well. But we didn't talk about sustainability plan. Now, sustainability plan is quite important because a lot of the organizations nowadays are trying to focus, for example, on localization, which is, if we are going to buy stuff like food, why are we importing it and increasing our CO2 instead of buying it locally and supporting the local economy? All right, Kate, thank you so much. Kat, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No worries. I'll see you later. Right, so we have on the next, right? You apply, you get selected. Sorry, I'm going to get the other graph. this one. Right, so you apply, you get selected, and then you have to report. Reporting is a specific thing within our sector that is part of the cycle of what we call MEAL. MEAL is monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. And there are a lot of, specific things about these that I cannot go into in this session, but I will try to also send that out to you. A lot of it has to do with project management principles. So project management principles reflected on humanitarian work, basically, and project management. So meal and donor. And then you get to, you get your grant awarded. And as I mentioned, you negotiate, you plan, you manage it, you launch the project, you report, and then you close the project. Are there any questions so far? Can we move to the juicy part? Right. So for those of you who are interested in applying and don't know where to begin, we're gonna make a begin today. So yeah, so firstly, I wanna show you all. I'm going to show you all how the UN partner portal looks like. So if you wanted to apply, say, to become a partner, like other organizations, this is where you would have to be, and you have to register. Yeah. This you can find, for example, per country. Oh, sorry, it says you have to register, login. I don't have an account, but you would be able to find here the opportunities that you have. Oh, I don't know. Sorry, guys, my computer kind of flopped. Ooh. Yeah, there we go. And so you go here to partnership opportunities, and there you can find, what kind of projects are there. There's many. Yeah, but there are many other ways in which you can also do this. So not just here, but for example, USAID has a bunch of things that they are advocating for: education, shelter. They are doing so much. So it could be that you go and look for USAID. Yeah. And so usually you will know about them if you're specifically involved in an area and they are doing work in that area, because someone will tell you, oh, we are with USA, or you will see the banners, you will see the stickers, you will see the stuff. But you can also look in there, like, what are they doing in Ukraine part? Like, I don't know, where we work, for example. And then you look for Ukraine. And then here you should see what they do. They will tell you, they will have reports, they will have stories. Yeah. That doesn't work as always. So here, health, economic growth, democracy, human rights, and governance. And then you can see the general strategy. But say that we're looking for, something from health. It doesn't have the information, but then now we know that they are involved in health. You can go here, look for partnerships, and then you say partner with us. And then find a funding opportunity. Yes. And it will tell you everything you need. It takes time, I'm not gonna lie, but it's literally how it goes with these, grant proposals and applications. And you can do the same, for example, if you are working with if you're working with children and you want to work with UNICEF, you just go to UNICEF. And you look for the partnering. If turns out this is their customer, like their customer side, then you can look for UNICEF partnerships. And they will have a UNICEF partner portal. Yeah, and then they will tell you here everything that you need to do. You can also find all of these through the cluster. Oh, it's so time consuming. Sorry, guys. And you can also check, for example, the maps and infographics to see who is active in what. You can see the maps as well. And if you have any questions, just send them an email or ask around your network who has a contact for them. But also, if you check in the partners, sorry. You can find a contacts list. And in the contacts list, you will have literally all of their emails. No, not this one. Let me check, for example, the UHF. Not this one. Oh, but it's nice. See, they have here a portal for UN specifically for this. Oh, maybe we can find something there. But yeah, so you basically have to like crunch the sites just to see, you know, what the opportunities are. It will actually come under partnership or it will come under fund opportunities. Are there any questions so far? Is this any clear? Is this helping at all?
Hey, this is Amy. I have a question for you. Are you finding any benefit in like paid databases for this kind of thing? Any of these databases that you can get an annual subscription to?
So I would say they're just as much work. They just make it a little bit easier, more direct, because again, like you've seen, this costs so much just to go around trying to find a ways to donate and to reach out, and it's a lot of work. But one of the things that I am doing, and I spoke about this last time, but I haven't done it myself yet, is use those grant researchers. So here in the UK, I know that you can get paid services for grant researchers, easily 500 pounds, and they will help you not only find the grants, but also like manage the whole application, write everything, etc. However, one good alternative would be Fiverr. So I use Fiverr for grant writers. And so what you find is some of the people will research the grants themselves and they will not charge a lot. And some of them will actually, like, you pay them 26, and then here, for example, this person, you pay them 26, they research the grant and write a letter of intent. They take 3 days. You have unlimited revisions. They write an executive summary. They deliver, they write a needs assessment. They write your organizational background and your grant objectives and methodology. And they will also find you one, or several possibilities for applying. Most of the guys will actually include a package that is just finding the grants. I will research 2 best grant opportunities for your organization and business. And so, they will, for 501c3, for example, they will just do that for you. And you will have to do the application and this and that. They will tell you how. But yeah, you can read here, people that has done it, like how they have managed that. I personally usually just, again, I'm not the one managing the applications myself. I'm usually just helping others that have found them and need to write the project proposal or the grant proposal. And that's where I enter, writing the thing. Then I hand it over to the manager that is managing the process, and then they do it themselves. It's going to change. I think that this is a time for all of us to familiarize ourselves with this. I think that as the crisis is maturing, this is, what we have to sort of learn to do. And even if it's not for ourselves, if we have the $21 from our organization to support this, then, use that. Otherwise, you can always pay like more and get, a project proposal, or the more expensive one, which actually delivers as well 2 valid, grant opportunities, and they do everything for you. This is the package that we will be, sort of like roughly at the end of this series of workshops. It's just, we have made available this funding so that you guys, can apply for it. So once you guys have submitted your project proposals to us, I think that Ala and I will sit and consider which are the most, the most realizable, eligible ones, the most impactful, and probably will actually ask you as well to kind of vote or give your opinion. I don't know for sure if that's a thing, but we don't know yet how we're going to allocate it exactly. Just that there are some principles that we manage for this allocation, which is, again, like, that is impactful, that is relevant, and that is realizable. That's it. One of the projects that I am doing this with, the grant proposal application, is we have industrial sized generators that are impossible to fund, that we can import a lot cheaper from Turkey. And the problem is that we need to import 13 of them. So I'm going to go and apply for, look for this funding through a professional grant writer. They will ask me all the backgrounds. I will tell them everything, and then we'll see if there's a grant opportunity or it's a fundraising opportunity. And likely this person is going to have subscriptions to all of these databases, and they will have already know, what of these databases are still are most active, which of them are better. And it's the same for those databases that have businesses. Now, that is different though. If you are looking for funding that is not on charities, but that is in businesses, usually that goes through developing a relationship with someone within that organization. And if these organizations' aims and corporate social responsibility align with that, then you might, be able to do that. And how you find that, and so you can actually email them directly and tell them, hey, we have this amazing project, and just kind of engage them. But otherwise, for them, I would 100% recommend that you join these pages that are looking for 501c3 organizations to pair with corporate, because again, these are going to be donors that you don't necessarily have a personal relationship with, that don't necessarily, have the trust in you, but that, will be a great door opening. But yeah, so to show you a little bit how corporate social responsibility looks like, how you can find partners for these. Say, for example, when we look at generators, yeah. Right, so here these guys send power generators, yeah. So you can actually look at if they have any at all, any social corporate responsibility.
Sorry, I'm not seeing it. I see the
Oh.
fiber.
Sorry, yeah, no, I'm gonna add it here. So you can look here, like in a you know what they do. They won't have anything here. So I'm looking for generators. This came up. Then what I'm gonna do is, you know, just maybe see emergency power support for an East Midlands hospital, mitigating production risk. So I don't know if they will be a potential partner, but you can email them, you know, you can say, hey, so this is us, this is what we do, and you know, we would like to you know if you can support what we're doing, in which way. Some might reply yes, some not, but otherwise you can always look for B Corps. So B Corp is a specific a type of corporation in America. However, it's also a certification now. And so what they do is they make sure that whatever they do is socially sustainable, that is having an impact. And so the companies that join the B Corp certification are companies that are, you know, building communities at the same time as being full non-for-profits. And so you can always look, you know, if someone has a B Corp certification, they might be interested. You can see, you know, AXA, for example, has a clear corporate responsibility page. And so they will tell you what they care about, you know. So here they are fighting climate change. So in theory, you could sort of, you know, send them an email, say, hey, so we are trying to get funds for some solar panels for Ukraine, and we would like to know if, you know, this aligns with you, because they will, if they are really doing that, you know, and if you can see, I don't know, some of their projects could be, that's, you know, that's what they are doing. You know, if they are already doing something similar, then why would they not instead support two social goals at the same time, which would be donating the solar panels in an area that actually needs them desperately. Are there any questions so far? No questions? Right, so let me find now the list of contacts for UHF, because they have the whole list here in this page somewhere. I just don't have it in me to find it now, but or no, I'll actually email them to you. Are there any questions so far? So guys, how do you feel about writing like a grant proposal and applying to a grant? I know I may have modeled things a little bit more.
This is Amy. I have a question, and this is something that we're going round and round about, and maybe you can offer some insight, because we're probably not the only people with this problem. But we're going back and forth between being as broad as we can be to being as specific as we can be, because one of our biggest challenges is having unrestricted funding for paying salaries for our team.
Yeah.
And we've started to kind of break down what we do into multiple, you know, maybe like 4 different segments. But ideally, I keep going back to breaking it down into 2 segments, kind of a natural disaster, man-made disaster, human services kind of sector of some sort, and or a disaster sector and a human services sector, and then having sub programs underneath that. And I keep getting caught in the weeds when I go to plan out a grant request, because I so desperately need the funds not to have to go in one specific area because I can't sustain the organization until I have those general funds. Does
Yeah.
that make
So this is a very, I would say, common or the most common struggle for most charities and programs like ours. Really, it's quite interesting because if you have a specific project, then you can ask funds for that specific project very easily. If you have a general, kind of approach where you target everything, then you might be able to get funding that is more unrestricted, but at the same time, it's a little bit harder to get. Usually, I would say it really depends on who your donors are, what your strategy looks like, and what your aims look like. It might make more sense to perhaps look back at your main donors, like who are your major donors, and just try to negotiate how you allocate these funds. Like, for example, you could say, well, how about we have this project, these are the costs, and 5% of that goes to a cost for the operation. So operational costs, you could say that, or you could say, look, we actually need salaries, and this is you've seen what we do, and this is important for us. It will depend a lot on who your donors are and what is the relationship that you have with them, I would say. I definitely, if you don't have a good relationship with them, don't ask them for salaries, because it's not gonna bode well. It's not gonna look well for you. I see someone raise their hands. Yeah.
Yeah, was it Amy that just asked that?
Yes.
Amy, I had to step out of the room for 2 seconds, but I was curious. Did you say you're struggling to find people for operational cost?
Yes. So our challenge right now is to sustain the organization. We need to fund salaries because we get millions and millions of in-kind products donated, but I need to pay specialists to facilitate the logistics and transit of that product. And I don't want to request funding specifically for, say, our Ukraine project or specifically for our training project, because then those salaries are allocated only for that particular project. But I need to be able to pay my person who oversees all 5 of our projects. And my goal is to get that through grant funding rather than individual donors, because the dollar amount is so much higher than what the average individual person is going to pay for.
Yeah, I like, personally, this is just my opinion. I think there's a couple things to that as far as grants, you're going to have you would have to go for grants that are willing to understand that you're getting in-kind donations, and I think a lot of them are not going to be as receptive to that because they're wanting you to use those funds in allocation with what their goals are. So I would say find grants that are maybe look for grants that are maybe focused on either regional or regional to your area, that are wanting to help out small businesses and small organizations in that southern Louisiana or Southwest area. Look at larger organizations that are already doing what you're doing, and go to those and see what they're doing, because they need partner programs for logistics because they can't handle all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or, as Diana was saying, as far as asking for salary money, and I've talked to you about this before, it's not that hard. It feels hard and it's scary because it doesn't feel like you're supposed to be asking for money to do this, but you have to. And I know it feels so uncomfortable to ask that, and it feels uncomfortable to say out loud, I'm making money doing this, but you have to. So I don't think there's anything wrong with you hosting a dinner. You're a chef in New Orleans. There's a lot of money down there. And I used to run an incubator program down in New Orleans. And that's what we did. We funded small businesses when I lived there. If you host a dinner and you bring in some of those business owners in your area and you do it with the intention of, this is our organization, this is a small fundraising organization, or small fundraising dinner, and we want to discuss with you a 1-year runway to prove the model of, this is what we're receiving, this is how long it's taking. They want to see data, so it's got to be data driven. This is where it's actually going, and this is the impact of that. I guarantee that people down in New Orleans are going to put money into funding you guys for salaries, for 1 or 2 salaries. That's like, you're looking at $100,000 to $200,000 for a year. That's really not that hard to get from the business owners in that area. You could do that in Uptown, or even from Tulane or Loyola. You can even look at the student grants that might be in those universities. So I would say host a dinner and invite like strong incubator program presidents and people from like GRODAT and people from some of the big, New Orleans still has money from hurricane funds to reestablish businesses in that area. So you might be able to do it through that too.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I know that it sounds difficult to ask for salaries. Look, you're bringing, like the intent, you are materializing the intention of all of these owners that don't have the time or the money, the time or the energy, the capacity to do it themselves. It will depend on many things, like Lindsay was saying. You could always just go to see, for example, who of these people in university are looking for traineeships, and how you could also, I don't know, pair with some student funds or student organizations that have a similar interest in common help or whatever. Like, it will really depend on your resources. Maybe first try and map the resources that you have to solve this problem, and try and find how could you engage them. If it's about logistics, for example, in many cases, what we have done is we have gone to people that do transport, and we understand that they need to make money. We do. We found some helpful drivers that would drive for us for free from the UK all the way to Ukraine, because these are Ukrainian drivers that drive in UK to Europe. However, they realize that this is the role we have to do now. So we found some people that are willing to help in this way. Again, it will depend on your context and your resources. But this is a conversation we can have further. Like I don't know, you could discuss as well with Lindsay. I might be able to give you a new pair of eyes, and this is something that we can all help each other with. Like, if you at any point anyone has any questions about how does it look like, what other options am I not considering that I should consider, that might help. Help you find another way, or maybe engage your whole network. Like, if you engage your whole network, some other person will know. Maybe they will know of an owner that actually has done humanitarian work themselves and understands this has to be paid, and that has the funds. And if you have a charity, they're willing to donate to you. That could happen as well. It could be, for example, like so one advice I give to everybody is, whenever you apply for your projects, make sure to add the salary there. Now, in this case, you have one person that works for several projects, yeah, but you could declare it as full-time if it doesn't look like in paper, like you're making it up. This project requires a full-time person. That's the biggest justification you have to add a salary added to this project. And if this person has time for other projects, well, that's, besides that. But it will depend as well on the grants. Like some grants will understand this, and they would say, you know what, it's fine, we have accounted for this cost. And others will say, well, actually, it's we want this to be like very clear and transparent, so these are the limits that we have. But it's not bad thinking to think that you can add the salaries to the project proposal or the grant proposal or the grant application. I think it's a good practice that all of us should be doing.
I can't right now. Just show me on
Oh,
the picture.
sorry. Who is unmuted? John. Hi, John. Oh, is this? Do you have any more questions around this, or does anybody have any more suggestions? So right, this was the workshop for today. I know it may have not resolved any issues. I don't know, Lindsay, if you have anything to add to what I said. I think that in general, it's about really understanding this cycle and sort of the steps that you need to take. But really, it's very, very difficult to talk about a specific methodology for grant application, or requesting funds either on private donors or like charities and funds. It will be really, really depending on the local, the requirements, the donors themselves, the beneficiary, sorry, the grantors themselves. The only thing that I will say is it will depend on our creativity, on our resourcefulness, that we are still doing this work a year from now. That's all it boils to. And I've seen many charities that were doing great work go out of business. And I've seen many charities that, are just doing something that are still succeeding. And I have seen many, many organizations, close down over years, and many other make it through. And so it really is about how we, tap into those, innovations that we have, that we can do in our sector, in our operation. Is about how we, find ways around it, things that we may have considered, that we may not have considered. And all in all, I think you guys are already doing more than most people. Being part of a brilliant network like UNCN, it's increasing your chances of getting there and getting your job succeeded. And I'm going to give you an example, right? I help an organization get, I help people get a grant for the last 2 years. Sorry, for the last 2 months of functioning. I was really, Amy, you're not the only one that struggles with asking for salaries. Like I said, I don't pay myself. I don't know if you were here in that in the workshop with where we talked about this, but I don't pay myself. Yet I found it, very easy for me to raise funds for someone else, for another organization. So I went on for raising funds for Help People. I put up my my own fundraiser online, which was a flop, but I don't care. I raised like 240 for the organization, but this got the word out there, and one of our partners turned out to have 20K lying around, which was literally the whole 2 months of salaries for the organization in Ukraine. And so literally it was like, oh, have you thought about this, donating to this cause? And they donated to the organization. And what we did was just make sure that they understood how appreciated this was, to make sure that they understand what they made happen these 2 months, how much of that, has actually led us to deliver, and like tons of aid, and just keeping them engaged and understanding that, yeah, maybe this was a one-off, but really it's not. It's just the fact that when you are setting your intention out there to pay salaries for your organization, someone that is supporting you will step up for you. Maybe it's you, maybe you just need to reach them out, maybe they just need to understand that you have this, this need, and it's because I was, the supporter of this organization, putting it out there, wording it to everybody, we need salaries, that I got to this opportunity. So really, it's understanding that it feels like it's really hard. It's really hard to go out and say, hey, we need salaries. But if your beneficiaries support you, if your beneficiaries understand that and they appreciate the work that you do, they will step up for you and they will help you do this as well. And like Lindsay said, it isn't really that odd. Organizations doing some fundraising in their local area. If you're a chef, I mean, I would love to do that here. When I was in living in Switzerland, I used to just throw up a dinner, fundraising dinner, every week or so, and sorry, every month once. And I would invite people that maybe were just normal people, but others that were engaged in other kind of social projects. And either they would know someone or they would, have the funding themselves. They would, and it was normal people. I was not with the rich and wealthy of Zurich, but I was, with people that knew them. So in the end, we managed to get fundings for this organization on a monthly basis, just out of this one dinner. So yeah, it is really about making sure that you have clear your value, that you have a clear goal and aim in mind, and that you are aligned with people that understand it and that value and appreciate what you do. And seriously, it will just all come in place. And putting your message out there, it's really important that your beneficiaries understand this. We have had as well here in the UK, a lot of the times, sometimes, for example, organizations do amazing work and they are struggling, and we put it out there on our social media, like, hi guys, we are really struggling, we could use some support, this is our problem. And we have had people come out of the bushes saying, oh, I'm going to get you a spot in the newsletter or in the local press, and we're going to talk with the MPs, and we're going to talk with the Senate member, because they are aware of what is needed. The messaging though can be different, because you can say we need money for salaries, but it's important to understand that this is not just for you, and you have to verbalize it that way. This is about this is about enabling the provision of aid. It's about enabling the impact that you are having on behalf of others. And so you have to make sure that you communicate it that way, that you say, look, we want to bring these generators. To be able to do that, this is what we need. We need so much money. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the money is for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that the money is to, get an office. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's about, buying lunch for people. It's just, this is the money that you need. And for some donors, that would be enough. For some supporters, that would be enough. Like Lindsay was saying, it's just a matter of understanding what is needed, the message, and getting it out there. Sorry, I feel like I'm repeating myself. Is this clear? Is there any questions or any suggestions? Oh, if I had the possibility of fundraising dinners, I tell you all. We have a person here that's, this is quite interesting actually, and it might be something that some of you can replicate. So to give you an idea of how we come to funds, we have one guy here that is like understanding that fundraising is the main priority, and he's gone out of his way to fundraise in his own area. So he is a trainer, and he does trainings for psychological assessments, for example, personality tests for people that are applying for jobs, etc., etc. Now, he realized that, okay, funds are needed. So here's how I'm going to do it. I can offer these companies to deliver the trainings for free, but my condition would be that the money that they make from these trainings should be all donated to Ukraine. And he actually went out of his way thinking, well, maybe actually they'd be interested in doing this because they are promoting their business, because these companies, they make money not from the training only, but also from the materials. of the training, but also for the materials that will be consumed after that, like access to the site and the pages to do the assessment. So he went to these guys and he told them, look, we're going to do this, and we're going to charge the normal price. You get the money for your expenses covered, but the money that you make will go to charity. However, this is what you win from it. You get clients that you wouldn't get otherwise. So we want you to focus on all the people that subscribe to your mailing list, that has said they want to, but that haven't bought the program yet. So you're going to convert them by telling them that what they're doing is going to be for charity, and all the proceedings go to charity. Yeah. And that way you materialize those clients that for many years haven't managed to buy you, and at the same time we get to the funds for Ukraine. And so we've done it, and he's done it and successfully raised about 15,000 pounds. Yeah, just from this one company. And now what we're doing is writing a business case about it, so that we can reach other organizations, other companies that are in our area of expertise, because I'm also a trainer, corporate trainer. And this is where I ended up meeting him, in the how can we make this work on the long run? How can we make sure this happens on a frequent basis? It is really, really about thinking how you can do the most with your network, but making sure as well that the needs that you have are understood. Yeah, sorry, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Does anybody have any other case of how they have, managed to fundraise, or saw someone manage to fundraise for salaries? All right. Are there any other questions then? All right, so this was the end of it, I think. I hope that I didn't manage to confuse you more. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. And if you have, if you have any questions or any, if you want to discuss this further, for example, Amy, if you want to have proper conversation, just let me know. My emails are on the first, on the workshops that we've sent. But otherwise is diana@helppeople.org.ua. And so, yeah, we could always just have a chat and see how, we can innovate in your fundraising. Maybe Lindsay, if you're interested in supporting some of this as well, if you've done it before and you know how to do it, maybe that's all that is necessary here, like understanding how you materialize that. So yeah, thank you all so much for, the great work that you guys do. The plans for our next workshop. So because we see there's a few people that missed the workshop for project management, for project proposals. We're going to do it again next week at the same time, just as an extra session. We didn't record that one, unfortunately. It was a little bit like this one. It was more about like the doing, and it was really just a conversation. But I think it's necessary that some of you see it, so that some of you can, get on board with the project applications or the project proposal application that we're doing. And then after that, the week after that, we're going to talk about social media and the things that matter for social media for charities and or for humanitarian projects or what we're doing. Some of the knowledge, the first part is going to be specifically about the do's and don'ts for charities, for humanitarian sector. The rest of it is going to be the how. So we are going to see exactly, how you get, a structured social media strategy, and then how you do it yourself. For example, how you put up a Facebook ad, which seems super daunting if you haven't done it before, but we're gonna do it in 5 minutes. And so you guys are gonna get to see how that works, how that looks like.
That's amazing. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you then next week.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
I'm gonna stay here 10 minutes. If anyone has other questions that they would like to ask, just let me know.
Okay. Do we join on the same link next week?
Yes, I will ask Ala to create an extra session, but it's gonna be the same link, I think.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. I actually ended up setting up a whole new link, but I
Ah.
will send it to everyone. I didn't realize that. I set it up this morning. I'll I'll message everyone in Signal, but I can email as well.
All right.
Okay, I didn't actually sign up for this. It was just cross-posted. So where can I send you my information? Within the chat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I think someone else has also sent an email, their email on the chat. So I will prepare the few documents that we wrote about today. The donor Excel sheet where you can like map them. The meal training. So it's a little bit short about understanding what management, evaluation, accountability, and learning is about. And then I will send you the example of the Ukrainian Humanitarian Fund list of contacts. Yeah. Guys, it's been lovely seeing you. I'm gonna just wait here. I'm gonna mute myself and I'm gonna turn off my camera. So if anyone has any questions, please just shoot out. Or if yeah.